Hey everybody, we are already at episode 5 of Paw and Order Las Vegas, the animal welfare podcast where we hope to educate and empower all of you out there to take action. We are just pumping out these episodes. Can you believe we're up to 5 already?
I cannot.
It's like the breadsticks at Olive Garden, just keep pumping them out.
The salad too.
I'm like
Who eats the salad?
I'm like the sauce though that you dunk the breadsticks.
How are you ladies doing? Like, what about the sauce?
I'm like
She
that
said
saucy,
she's like the sauce that you dump in.
I'm like the spicy sauce.
Well, good to see everybody here. How are you doing, Gina?
Dragging along, trying to, So
are you getting new treatments or?
Well, I've been in and out of the hospital this week, not feeling good, had pneumonia, possibly a blood infection, and they are beating the crap out of me. So I might have to get a port. I don't know if people can see the lovely bruises that I have all over my arms.
Now we need a graphic warning before this show.
Yeah, it's been rough. And I'm sure, I don't know if people are like, I was going to say the last time, the last episode, I was feeling pretty rough too. It's actually been a couple weeks that I've been feeling pretty shitty, but now we know there was a reason why.
It's definitely not helping.
But I know assuming. Coming in here, though, gives you some empowering healing. Can we say that?
And, sometimes this is the only, I'm working on a lot of other things, but I do want people to know that I am struggling with, health issues. I mean, as people know, I have, stage 4 cancer, and I'm struggling through like other health issues right now. But I'm still, kicking ass and taking names.
Right. Well, we're glad you're
I'm doing my best here, but be patient, because there's sometimes that people, want answers or need answers. And I'm doing the work behind the scenes. I don't always have time to provide updates, but know that, if it's something I'm working on, it's getting done. And if the proper authorities are notified and they're investigating, that's good for me. And people need to really be good with that.
Well, I want to start the show off kind of where we left the last show, because it was so explosive when we were talking about the Foster to Adopt program at the Animal Foundation, and you brought in all of the data showing how many animals are leaving there that have not been sterilized. And I know when we were talking, I thought, well, maybe that's about 40% of all of the animals they adopt, all the dogs they adopted out that month. I got home and looked at their numbers. It was 68% for May. In June, 71% of the animals they adopted out were not sterilized. It's just crazy.
It's absolutely unacceptable, and it needs to stop. And I hope that the elected officials, make it stop. I mean, with whatever negotiations they have, I know that TAF has them over a barrel in some ways because of the fact that there really is no one else, and they're in the process of trying to build a shelter, and things take time. But I'm sorry. Putting all these animals out, I would say we could do a better job running that shelter than they are right now. Because all they're doing is perpetuating the problem.
Irreparable harm to the community by doing this.
Absolutely.
Do we have the pre-COVID numbers on average of how many dogs? And we're just talking dogs, right?
Is that number Gina brought in were just dogs.
Oh, okay, but what about the numbers?
But we are in an epic cat crisis because they let it get out of hand.
Well, I understand that. But the numbers that you just talked about, is that dogs or is that all animals that were adopted out?
That's just dogs in May and June.
I'd be curious, do we have any numbers on pre-COVID and how many dogs that they were adopting out on a monthly basis before COVID, before Hillary?
And were not sterilized?
No. Just dogs in general, like in a month, because I would be curious to know how many were adopted out last month?
472 last month.
Dogs.
Yeah.
So I wonder what the average would have been before COVID and why they were able to make it happen before COVID and they can't make it now.
I'll look into that.
What the difference is. If we can look at that.
I think it's less though. I think they were adopting out more before COVID. Because at 472, well, I would have to check. I know if they're adopting out more, it's not significantly more.
A lot of the numbers are online. I mean, all of the statistics are online. However, what we don't know though is this number is how many are FTAs that are being adopted out and sterilized, and then what is the status of those numbers?
But they're doing FTA because they're either short vets or the system that they have in place is not working properly. So like, what's the difference between, before and now, if it's almost the same amount of dogs that are being adopted out on a monthly basis? Do you see what I'm saying?
Mismanagement.
Like, and
That's the
mismanagement.
problem.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and it is, and we do know that there is a shortage of vets.
Wait, I got to say something about that. I researched to see if there were any other shelters in the country, open admission shelters, doing what the Animal Foundation is doing, which is releasing this amount of animals unsterilized in a foster program. I searched all over the country. I could find one other shelter in Long Beach. They have an open admission shelter where sometimes they'll allow dogs to go home that aren't fixed, but they require a deposit from people so that if you don't bring the dog back to get sterilized, you don't get the money back. Essentially, you're paying for it. You're paying for it if you don't get them sterilized. So they're going to have much more people return to have them fixed. And most states do require that. Nevada does not. So that if in other states, they're going to require a deposit if you take home a dog that's not sterilized. So I can't buy Animal Foundation's excuse that there's not enough veterinarians, because every other shelter in the country is somehow handling this problem without letting dogs go unsterilized. So I don't think we should let them fall back on that. It's mismanagement completely. They need to just go back to the old process of fixing the dogs. When someone says, I want to adopt that dog, okay, we're going to schedule it for surgery tonight. That's how every other shelter in America does it. That's how we need to do it here. No more excuses. I calculated if they've been doing this since COVID, there's potentially 20,000 animals that they have put into this community, dogs that were unsterilized.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine how long that's going to take to clean up.
No. And we've been saying this for a long time again, but we didn't have the numbers until, we appreciate the source that was able to provide this information. And I don't think the elected officials knew either. And we're going to just keep hammering away at this.
And we did do a press release on it. Gina wrote a great press release. And some media has reached out. So you should be, by the time this is, you're listening to this podcast, you may be seeing some news stories about it. I also wanted to add that, Melanie, our nonprofits, No Kill Las Vegas and Doggy Task Force have been in a lawsuit with the Animal Foundation. We provided this data to our attorney, who has already submitted it to the judge, and we're asking the Animal Foundation to provide updates on all of the animals on this list to see, so we can get a count on exactly how many they are actually coming back in spaying and neutering. And, I'd mentioned before when Councilwoman Seaman was here, she brought up the lawsuit, how the Animal Foundation's just been stonewalling us. We request information. They refuse to give us anything. Just yesterday, the judge got so pissed off at the Animal Foundation, he ordered them to pay our attorney $1,000 because they've been just wasting her time. She has to continue to request for documents, which they won't provide. So they're being fined essentially because of that. And then the next day, we received 30,000 documents from the Animal Foundation. So we're going to be going through that. I'm sure they sent us just a lot of shit to waste our time. But we're going to go through every single one so that we can try to back up our claims that we've made in the lawsuit. And hopefully we can find something in the documents.
When was the lawsuit filed?
I'm going to think it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was based on even the prior years from that. So I'm curious. I would love to see a report from COVID. How many animals have they released unsterilized into the communities as FTA? And what is the status of all those animals right now?
But it's not even just the sterilization part. It's the fact that, there's no plan B for when they close the shelters. And then it's left on all of our organizations, rescue organizations, and that kind of thing, to even the public, to figure out what to do with all these dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making their job our job. Even though, we have our nonprofit to support the public and, support the animals and help them out, but you can't just dump everything on all of us and expect it to,
Yeah, the rescues have been having
the right thing.
A terrible time since COVID, trying to pick up the pieces that the Animal Foundation's thrown out there.
I will say that it seems like there has been a little, some little breadcrumbs thrown out some of the rescues and some of the probably larger organizations, because we've been saying that since, and remember I told you, I said, file a lawsuit from the very beginning. for all the animals that you guys were out there as Doggy Task Force, picking up, housing, boarding, paying medical on, paying for spays and neuters for, trying to find homes for,
And my rescue actually would pay for the spays and the neuters and the vaccinations and the boarding and that kind of thing, because we weren't a nonprofit at that point. So we were just a volunteer-based organization trying to help animals.
You were picking up dogs off the street that should have been going to the Animal Foundation.
Yeah, because they were closed, and some of the animal control agencies were even dumping them back on the street. Or remember, they were telling everybody to just release them back on the street, just let them go. Mm-hmm. And when we would find dogs, we would not want to let them go unsterilized, even if we did find the owner. And just like a note to people who do the lost and found, it's not always just a great idea to give back a dog and claim victory that you found the owner if the dog is intact. I mean, these are the extra links we go to make sure that these animals get fixed. In fact, I still have the dog. One of the rescues.
Oh, you do?
I still have her because we offered free sterilization. And the fact is, they wanted to breed her. And once she was fixed, they just didn't want her. Mm-hmm. Turned her into the shelter. I adopted her back after the legal hold. And we're still working on getting her a little bit more healthy and then finding her a home.
Well, and I think too, also, Bryce, we put this out there to, I think almost every organization and on Facebook, if they wanted to join this lawsuit. And I'm surprised that it was really only, you and I that showed some interest. I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised.
I was part of that. I wasn't in a position.
You're not part of it. We're part of it.
But I think,
she's getting upset.
But I think
a lot of it was my idea. I'm not always in a position that other people are in to just throw my hat in the ring.
Right.
But
I know, but I think too that rescues, get nervous and they don't want to be involved because Animal Foundation has, blocked rescues, cut rescues off from being able to pull dogs and help dogs because they're afraid of retaliation or, whatever the case may be. And it's we only have outside of the Animal Foundation, it's only Henderson. And that only takes in Henderson dogs. So I could see where some people are like, why are you going after the Animal Foundation? They're the only, because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. So if they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, then it would probably eliminate a lot of the mess that's going on.
And I have a lot of respect for you for joining the lawsuit. Because I did have conversations with many other rescues. I totally understand their position, but you were the only one with the balls to step up and say, yeah, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, if we don't do anything, then nothing is going to change. That's the thing.
Right.
And sometimes you have to put yourself out there in order to see change happen.
I wanted to read, we love it when you guys see or watch our posts online and comment. And so we always like to read some comments. And so I have a couple here regarding the Foster to Adopt program. You had mentioned someone had submitted questions to the Animal Foundation about their processes for the Foster to Adopt. And the Animal Foundation had written back that they write a letter, they do a phone call, there's an email. So I had someone comment on one of the posts, Reagan, who's a longtime supporter. She has an English bulldog she got from the Animal Foundation through the Foster to Adopt program. She's had the dog for 8 months, and the Animal Foundation's never contacted her once about getting the dog neutered. Another woman wrote me directly. She DM'd me. She adopted a dog from the Animal Foundation, and after going through the history, she saw the dog had been in and out of the Animal Foundation 3 times and was still intact. So they're just completely dropping the ball here, and they're just throwing this on the community, and we're the ones and the animals that are getting punished for all of this. So I hope the data that you provided for us, Gina, I hope that really helps the lawsuit. And I hope it gets elected officials' attention that, hey, we need to force them to be sterilizing animals before they release them to the public. I know we got a lot to talk about on the show still. We have a guest coming in a few minutes. But I know there's been so much in the news. Remember when we talked about starting this podcast? Are we going to have enough to talk about every week? And Gina and I were like, yeah, there's something every week. Something new is happening every week. Remember that? Are you still mad at me about the lawsuit? I can read your eyes.
I just think it's funny because there's a lot of things I could say, and personally, I always thought it was the county and the jurisdictions that should have been sued, not the Animal Foundation.
But
that
that's another issue completely.
But I've been along for the ride, and
you provided a lot of information.
Well, a new story that hit the news just a few days ago, there was another, I call it a Reba copycat, potentially. A dog left by a dumpster, dead. And I know, Mel, you were just looking into, there was an update on that?
The most recent was that the Animal Abuse and Neglect Unit is taking over the case, which tells me that it looks like it. I think on the news it said that it looks like that the dog was deceased before being put in the crate and dumped.
Well, they were always taking over the case. They were the ones that were out there investigating, and then
now they've determined there has been abuse.
So then they completed the necropsy, and they found that there's something in the necropsy that shows abuse. Okay, and that's the thing is, and I spoke to the reporter too. This is the thing where people just come unglued when they see things, and we don't know what it is until they do a necropsy, until they do a full investigation, which is why we have to ask people to calm down, give the authorities a chance to investigate, which they clearly did. They were the ones who put the press release out that morning. And
Talk about that, Gina, because you've been doing this a long time. I was so impressed that Metro was not just investigating this on their own before we had to call them, because I'm sure you have experiences where you did have to call them. They not only did that, they held a press conference. I helped
form the unit. I requested the formation of the unit.
They actually
and at the district attorney's office as well.
They held a press conference.
After Cooney's law was written, the original felony animal cruelty law.
So tell us about some experiences where Metro used to go out and shoot the dogs. Right? Now they're actually investigating the abuse.
There was situations where people would be in trouble or they would be serving a warrant, and there would be a lot of situations where dogs would get shot. But
it's been a complete reversal, right?
Well, yeah, because I wrote that law too. But
it's because you and everyone else, the community has been speaking up for years.
Well, and I think that's where you maybe met when you came to the Bubba protest,
right?
Because they shot Bubba in his own backyard. But that was sort of a different situation. But yeah, there was a time where there was a lot of deadly interactions between police and pets. And we did a lot of investigative reports with Darcy Spears, authored a law, I believe it was in 2012, the Canine Encounter Training Bill, where they have to get the training on how to deal with the animals. And there were a lot of lawsuits that we helped, get started. And Maggie McClutchy represented a lot of the families. They got 6-figure, settlements over those. So that stopped. And we were very grateful because then they got the catch polls and basically realized that the public wasn't going to tolerate that. But that was a little bit different. That was like when, people, they were having probably not good interactions because of the owners. But when it comes to the cruelty cases, you never really understand or know what's happening until there's an investigation, just like with Reba. You need to show up. We need the felony animal cruelty unit there, just like with the Justice case, when there's allegations of severe abuse, and in that case, sodomy, which we never even. Yeah, that one's still hanging out there.
What are your thoughts, though, that when you see Metro actually come out and have a press conference?
We appreciate it. And I think that they saw from the community, because this has been building over time. It takes time. Cooney's Law passed in 2012, and it took a long time to roll out the law, to roll out the processes, and to establish the felony animal cruelty unit. And sometimes it was only one detective, sometimes it was two. But I think that even Metro saw that this is an important issue, and the public wants it taken seriously, and they want thorough investigations done, and they want proper investigations from the point of contact, where someone calls it into dispatch. We need the proper, trained detectives to go out there, seize all of the evidence, and the animals, the biggest piece of evidence. But, like the cage, they took the cage. In Reba's case, they didn't. It was a mistake. But
isn't there another issue that was just in the news too? The security guard?
Yeah, there was a situation. There was a video on Ring that was brought to my attention. And we were able to, and again, I'm grateful because we have established a very good relationship with Metro. And, I sent the video to, to Assistant Sheriff Dory Corin, and he sent it off to his team. And they had the detectives out there, Jose's.
That's awesome. Thank you,
and
Metro.
They actually, canvassed the neighborhood, and they found the guy. They arrested him. We requested that the dog be taken to the vet to have an exam done to make sure there wasn't like healed rib fractures or maybe like, concussions. I don't know if people remember Kilo, the white pit bull years ago, right after in 2012, that was, brutally beaten by his owner on a regular basis. And, you can't just visually look at a dog and go, oh, that dog's fine. Turned out that dog had healed rib fractures, concussions, all this stuff. So they pulled the dog. That was the first ever seizure warrant that
Have you heard if the dog was
signed.
injured?
I have not gotten an update. I do have an event number on that. I have passed it along to a couple people, hoping that we can get some updates on exactly what's going on. And I'll have to try to call for an update.
Were there any updates posted? Because I don't know if people even know that the security guard was found.
I posted it on my page.
Okay.
This is the first I heard. Yeah.
And I'll be honest here.
If you want breaking news, listen to this podcast. We got the news first. We'll give it to you.
Yeah. Well,
But I think that's what's missing.
I had the information and I updated it. And I'll tell you, because the video was very disturbing and upsetting, but that's why everyone wants to share it, freak out, share vitriol, share all the nasty messages. Me, I take the information and I go straight to the authorities and request investigations.
We still need people to share.
And I disagree because I think it gets out of
control. I want people to share.
I know you do.
If I take the time to post something, I love you if you share it. Thank you.
And you know what, I used to, but I'm going to tell you, times have changed. The culture has changed. And in my opinion, I don't want that vitriol. What I want is justice for that animal, and I want the authorities investigating. I don't want everyone just sharing it and sharing hatred and sharing all the things they want to do. What I want is I want Metro out there. I want them to find the person, and they did.
Well, we all want
that. And
they
took care of it.
All right. So, I know before we get to our guests, you wanted to talk about some billboards that two of you were putting together. I don't know what the whole story is, or...
Well... Go ahead.
It's people, that's what I'm saying is like, even sick, dude, I'm out there kicking ass. And I don't always have time to post all the things I do. So maybe you'll hear it here, but I did reach out to the folks that were kind enough, Lamar Advertising to share the Reba information. And I said, hey, heat is a big issue after Jazzy died, which was horrible. And even, Melanie was like, we really need to get the doggy task force back together because it just seemed like, if I would have known I was only 10 minutes away, like I would have gone out there and tried to, intervene with some life-saving, just to, because the people, trained volunteers that have experience, we kind of know how to go out there because we know that Animal Control is running a lot of calls.
What's the billboard? Let's get to the billboard.
I'm trying to explain that because people don't understand why. Mm-hmm. Animal Control can have 300, 400, 500 calls, and even Metro before they can get out there. So we created these billboards like that He Kills Pets, and thankfully, we have Eric Roy even changed his billboards to bring your pets inside. It's hot. We appreciate that.
Great.
And basically, we have a.
So Lennar donated the space?
We have the website.
They donated the billboard. Eric and his team, we can say that.
Yeah.
Eric and his team have been more than supportive in putting together a phone number, putting together just a one-page website. So basically it just kind of shows like what the steps are for what you need to do for second, third, fourth when you see a situation where a dog could be in distress, potentially in distress, an issue. My neighbor leaves the dog outside in the yard all day.
Whatever. Like a Jazzy situation. Mm-hmm. Or let's say the dog that was rolled next to the dumpster.
If you see something, call something type of billboard.
Yeah,
there's a phone number.
We're not going to be chasing dogs down the street, but And there was like,
who are they going to be calling?
They're going to be
Metro
it'll
you?
go to us.
Oh, okay.
It goes directly to us.
It'll
we
go
have
to
an
us,
app.
but we have steps. Like this is kind of what needs to be done first, second, third. And I think the biggest miss that we see is when people call, they're not getting an activity number. So we want to make sure that call was made. What's the activity number? Like what the situation is. Like, is it a dire situation? Do we need to like rush down there now? Like, is this a situation where we can call animal control and like wait? Like what is the situation?
That's awesome.
So,
when are these billboards going up?
They're already up.
Oh, they are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the phone number is
How many
active.
billboards, you know?
Oh, there were quite a few.
Yeah, they're all over town.
Around the city.
If you've seen them, do us a favor, snap a picture and post it on our page. We would love to see it because I'm going to
call you when I see one using the phone number, and I'll see how responsive you guys are.
And the phone number is, it's 702-848-HEAT, and that translates to 2468. Let me just double check that before I put my big mouth.
All right, before we bring our guest in, I know, Gina, you have an exciting announcement. In 2 weeks, who are we going to have in here?
We are going to have Metro Felony Animal Cruelty Detective Robert Siegel, and we're possibly going to have the other detective. I apologize, I don't remember her name.
That's going to be cool. I'm excited about that because
I'm very excited.
I'm super excited.
So much of what we talk about involves the law, obviously.
Well, and the questions.
And we can get updates on cases. Maybe I don't know what they'll be able to tell us, but
they've asked us for a list of questions, so we can send. Maybe we can get
if anybody has questions, they can ask them in our comment section.
Yeah, DM us.
Send us the questions. Yeah,
Mel, where can people? We now have some social media account pages specifically.
So we have
for
TikTok.
The podcast.
We have, and it's Paw and Order LV. So you can just search.
Yep, you can
Instagram,
DM us that way.
Facebook. Yeah, TikTok.
All right.
So that is really exciting. I'm not that they're, like they're more special than our other guests that we've had, like our guest today, but it is really nice and we appreciate it. And thank you to Metro for allowing it because they do have to get permission from the PIOs. And I'm just grateful. Thanks to, again, Captain Connolly and all the folks that get involved to help make these things happen. And I'm very proud because these are the relationships that I've developed over 20 years, and we appreciate them being willing to work with us, and we appreciate how hard they work.
Well, let's get our next guest in here. So today we're going to talk about an issue that we've kind of brought up before in the podcast, and it involves homeless people having pets, and it's been controversial. And so we're very happy to have a friend of Gina's in here today. Do you want to go ahead and introduce Ron?
This is Ron Robinson, and we actually met at the Animal Foundation when one of your dogs was, and Melanie was there too, was stuck at the shelter and you were all stressed out and you needed help because they had closed or whatever. And it was hard for you to get a ride because at the time, your friend was down there, I think, with like no tags on his truck and you guys were living in a camper on the side of the road and you were really stressed out about getting your dog back because he didn't have a microchip or something happened.
You remember that?
Yes, I do. The police showed up there, and while we was talking with them, the dogs got out, and Buddy got picked up by
the police showed up where
animal control. Somebody called on
where you
Buddy.
were living. The police showed up where you were.
Yes,
where you were
where
staying.
we were staying.
Okay.
And they picked up Buddy. I was able to find Raider, but not him.
So, Ron, why don't you tell us a little bit about your situation?
My dogs they're kind of big, so nobody wants to allow me to stay in these trailer parks with my fifth wheel because they're just too large. They look at them like a mean breed, being bull mastiffs. So for me, I'm on a fixed income, so I can't afford these RV parks where they will accept them. And so
you live in your fifth wheeler?
Yeah, I couldn't afford a spot, so I ended up putting it into storage because I didn't want my dogs to give them up. I didn't want to give them up.
How long have you had them?
For 8 years.
And they're in the studio here with us. Maybe we'll get a photo of them, a video later. Tell us about your dogs real quick.
Buddy and Raider, they're brothers. Again, I've had them for 8 years. I got them when they were 8 weeks old. I was in a much better situation at that time when I did get them. And no one would just look at them like they're mean, like they're pit bulls or something. So they would not let me bring the dogs there. They wouldn't have it.
Into these
Any of
other
the
trailer parks?
None of the parks.
I see.
The ones that would accept it, I couldn't afford.
Mm-hmm. And getting an apartment or something wasn't an option.
It was an option. I just, on a fixed income, I just didn't make enough.
Well, but I thought you also did, I thought you were disabled and you could have qualified for some housing, but because they wouldn't allow the dogs, you weren't going to accept the housing without your dogs.
Right.
And that
Right.
was, I think, that's what we sort of went around about. And
Yes.
then you had some health issues. You were in and out of the hospital. And I mean, I know that we sort of went through a situation where an amazingly generous person who's no longer with us paid for you to stay because that was during the heat. You were staying with the guy in the camper that kept leaving the door open. You were so terrified the dogs were going to get out again because he wasn't as responsible as you. And you guys were sort of moving like behind the banks and then on the side of the road and then in the desert, remember? And then I know we put you up with the help of street dogs and one of their generous supporters downtown at one of the hotels, actually on the Strip, and try to get you help with your legs and all that. And then eventually you did end up at, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's like a little hospital.
Yeah, over on Main Street.
Yeah. And they
Right
finally
there.
were able to help you with your legs. We did get the boys boarded with the help of the Las Vegas Dog Hotel, which they were amazing for doing that. So you could finally get
Yes.
your health, your health issues taken care of. Because remember, I think you were frustrated that the hospitals just kept discharging you and they wouldn't truly address the problems that you were having with your legs.
Where were your dogs when you were in the hospital?
Gina had them put up for me and some foster care.
LB Dog
They
Resort.
took care of them for
Yeah.
me.
That's
But
great.
before I met you, your friend was watching them, I think, and then they were
Yes.
getting out because he was living in that camper and kept leaving the door open. And
Yeah, his dog
was-
wouldn't take off,
yeah,
so he can leave it open for him. But my dogs, they just want to wander around.
yeah,
And they're not used to that, so I was worried about them getting hit by cars.
yeah.
Have you ever had to live on the street with your dogs?
Well, that is pretty much in the campers, more or less on the streets. You don't
Okay.
have power, you don't have water except what you can get.
How long have you been living like that?
I was living like that for a little over a year when I met Gina.
Okay. When you got them at 8 weeks old, so what was your situation?
Then
When
I
you-
was staying in a park that allowed them, and it was much cheaper rent.
Oh,
But
okay.
a girl I was with ended up getting me kicked out of there. So I couldn't find another spot that would allow the dogs
Mhm.
that I can afford.
What would you say to people who say, well, if you're having trouble taking care of yourself, maybe you shouldn't have dogs?
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, if you can't take care of yourself, you shouldn't have dogs. How are you going to take care of them? When I got Buddy and Raider, I was able to take care of myself and them. And it just ended up getting in a position to where I couldn't do
Mhm.
that anymore. But if somebody asked me and I'm homeless and said, should I get a dog? I would tell them no, not until you get on your feet.
And you have friends that have dogs that you think maybe they shouldn't?
That are homeless?
Yes, that are living on the street or in a situation.
Yeah, I do. I
Mhm.
mean, it's once you have them for so many years, you don't want to give them up, and you get attached to them, but you do, on the other hand, want what's best for the animal as
Mhm.
well.
Tell us about how your dogs help you, what they mean to you.
Buddy and Raider, they're just like my best friends, really. They're my kids. They help me emotionally. I don't know what I'd do without them, really, to tell you the truth. I mean, they're all I have.
Well, and I think at one point you did we were able to find somewhere for you to go, and they were able to waive the pet rent because you did register them as ESA dogs, which is, it was a little weird because it's not even supposed to be real that exists, but it was actually the place that
Emotional
told
support
me.
animal.
Yeah,
Right.
but there's like online places where you register them and then get a number, and that's not supposed to be real. But the place where you were going to stay told me you need to have them registered, and then they'll waive the pet rent. And I don't know, I mean, I don't, it's sad when people take advantage of the system, but they almost leave you no choice to do that, because in order for them to help you get into that place, we registered the dogs, or I gave you the information, you register the dogs as ESA and, emotional support dogs, which they truly were. And you had a letter from your doctor, right?
Right.
Saying that, but then you got the numbers and they were able to waive the pet rent. You stayed there for a while. But even at that point, we were trying to get you get your fifth wheel into one of the places. I personally drove around to a lot of these trailer parks as an animal advocate. And I was asking, do you allow these pets, or what is your protocol? And they would hand me a list and say, these dogs are not allowed. They didn't care, about, it just said, these breeds are not allowed, which I thought was so unfair because,
That's okay.
But
I've seen some Yorkies that'll take your face off.
I know. Look at
pit bulls
Tracy's Chihuahua. But I mean, if you could see these dogs right now, I mean, there's
very sweet.
Can you? I don't know if you can aim the camera down. I mean, they are the sweetest dogs. I've had them in my car alone. I've driven them. I've transported them a million times, especially when he got out of the hospital.
Mhm.
These guys are just so gentle. They're just gentle giants.
So
and
you're on a fixed income. So you have an income coming in.
Yes.
Right?
I'm on SSI. I do have an income, but it takes up my whole check to pay my rent. Gina set me up with a guy named Jason from North Las Vegas Outreach Program.
Right.
And he's the one that paid my rent for a little while.
Mhm.
And, you have to do the programs and do what they ask of you, which I did. And I got a job to where I can afford to take care of my animals on my own without having to have any help.
Oh, nice.
And then 6 months later, I got sick and then diagnosed with cancer and had to leave that job. So now I'm back at square one where I'm struggling again to try to pay this rent. I only have $30 left over after it's paid.
And you're actively and if you don't mind me saying, because we're kind of in the same boat here, you're also struggling with stage 4 colon cancer right now.
Yes.
And you're going actively right now through chemo.
Yes.
In fact, you didn't really feel good, but you wanted to come in and tell your story and talk about the struggle that it is to be, not in a vulnerable situation, home-wise, right?
Sure.
That no one would allow your dogs, and right now you're struggling with the transport, even just the transportation costs to get back and forth to your treatments, which
it's been a struggle for sure.
Yeah.
Well, what would you like to tell people? Have you ever been in a situation where you felt someone was judging you because you had animals and you didn't have what they thought was adequate housing?
Yes, but it's like I don't allow that to get to me. I make sure that they have whatever they need before I do.
Well, and I think
I can tell you love your dogs very much.
I think it's not judging the situation. I think it's maybe looking at the person themselves and not just, oh, they're homeless, he shouldn't have a dog. Because I'm going to tell you that I went on a call multiple times, called animal control twice on someone that lives in a $3 million house because they didn't have adequate shelter for their German Shepherd that was sitting outside and wasn't even allowed because of the collar and the underground fence to even go to somewhere that was shaded. Like couldn't replace the $100 air conditioner in the doghouse. But yet they were on vacation somewhere. So, it's like...
I don't think anyone should own an animal that's not treating it humanely, period.
Yes.
I do think it's more difficult for people that
Yes.
don't have a stable place to live.
And honestly, if I was in a situation where I didn't have a motorhome that I was staying in at the moment, and I was actually in this desert,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have had to do something with them.
Because you
I
care
don't
about them
want
so much.
I don't want them walking around on the pavement when it's 120 degrees outside with their paws being burnt.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't in that deep of a situation. I had the fifth wheel, it's in storage, and I continued to pay that, but I just had to find a place that was suitable that I can afford.
Right. And Gina kind of enlightened me last week when we were talking about this, that being homeless, there's many different levels and definitions of that. Someone staying at a Seagull Suite could be considered homeless. They don't have a permanent home. They're living week to week. They don't know where they're going to be next week. Someone living in their car could be considered homeless. And of course, someone living on the street or camping in the park. So there's different levels, and that kind of got me thinking about, you need to judge everyone individually. Because I do definitely, if I see someone panhandling and it looks like they're not taking care of the dog, and they may be using the dog as a prop, I do judge them and think that person shouldn't have a dog. What's your thoughts on something like that?
I felt that way the other day when I was sitting at the bus stop and a lady walked by me and her dog was, you could tell that his feet were being burnt on the pavement. And I asked her, I had some water, can I put some water on his feet? And she started crying and says, I'm doing the best that I can, but wouldn't allow me to put the water on his feet and just continue to walk.
Wow.
Well, and I do give you props because I personally and some members of my rescue have attempted to help people that were homeless. So one of the volunteers on my team actually works in an organization that helps. And we've tried to help, people get on their feet or lead them in the right direction where like, you just need to, call this number, then let me know you called. And then we never hear from them again. So I have to give you, props for allowing Gina to help you and not thinking and not like judging you or not accepting the help, but actually making the effort, to do everything that she was also asking you to do to help with your situation.
Yeah, I didn't want to be in that situation at all. And Gina was a blessing. And she hooked me up with a lot of the right people. And I did what I had to do and got a job and got out of there and in a better situation.
But most people that I've run across that like I said, that we've tried to help, like they just either they don't want it or they don't want their situation to change. I don't know if it's.
Why do you think that is?
People dump their animals all day long at the shelter. And there are people that I know that have nothing and they will not let their animals go. And that's the one thing I do respect about you, is that you don't
let them go.
And then I hadn't heard from you in a while. And then he called to ask me, and he didn't know that I was sick, but he said, Gina, please. He goes, I'm sick. I just need to know that if something happens to me, that you will take care of Ron and Buddy. Or I'm sorry, Raider and Buddy. And I said, well, I don't know. It's a race to the finish right now, Ron, because I'm sick too.
Did you tell him, hey, I've got 5 dogs you might need to take care of?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
no, she's going to call me is what's going to happen.
And, but that's the thing is like, so, and I know before, like we needed help with them getting walked when your legs were hurting and stuff like that. Yeah. And there were amazing people that stepped up to help and stuff. And I know you're worried about that, just like I'm worried about it with my animals. We don't know what, life has in store right now. But I know that you might have someone that will take care of Raider and Buddy. But if there's anybody out there that, maybe would be willing, at some point, I'm hoping you're going to live forever. I know my grandfather had, colon cancer and lived many, many years. And, I wish you absolutely the best.
Thank you.
But just in case, you always want to have a plan B. Everyone should have a plan for their animals. You could die in a car accident on the way home from work. Everyone should have a plan for their animals.
I agree.
And these are big dogs and people are afraid of them. And They're the sweetest boys ever. And that's why I wish, and I told that lady, in fact, I gave her my brochure at that one place that I went to talk to. I said, you do know if they're ESA dogs, you have to make reasonable accommodations for them. And she said, no, I didn't know. I said, I'll let you have my brochure. And I hope that, some of these places will realize that it's the law. Like, you have to make a reasonable accommodation if they're ESA dogs.
Yeah.
And,
Meet the dogs.
and that's why I said, meet the dogs, to judge them on their own character. Don't just judge every dog because of the breed or a label that they have. It's kind of tragic.
Well,
and we see a lot of homeless people that would rather be homeless on the street than give up their pets. They love them very much,
When this is a huge problem.
Huge.
I mean, from like I have 2 volunteers with my rescue that are moving to other states. One, because the landlord raised the rent $500 a month, raised it $500 a month. And then another person who has a full-time job can't even afford to get into a place by herself.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she's moving, back to where she was before. So this is a problem. I can't even imagine, I don't know, rent control, no nothing where they're just allowed to, raise rent for no reason and
then charge all this pet rent on top of
pet
it.
rent. And
I can tell you as a realtor,
monthly?
about 50% of the homes, these aren't apartments, about 50% of the homes for rent in Las Vegas do allow pets, which is a good number, but obviously it's half of them don't. And I'm not sure what the numbers are for apartments or even Siegel Suites, a place like that. Do you know if Siegel Suites allows pets?
I believe they do.
Okay.
I do believe they do.
But also, if you do have a service animal, they cannot deny you for having a service animal. They cannot charge you pet rent. They cannot charge you a deposit.
No.
So for people that do have emotional support animals, please be aware of the law. Don't let a landlord take advantage of you or deny you because of those reasons.
Well, they can't. I think they can deny you, depending on which kind of dog that it is. If it's an ESA, they have to make a reasonable accommodation. They don't have to. But if it's
my understanding that they can't deny you because of it.
But they can deny you and not tell you that's the
service
reason.
dog.
Yes.
That they couldn't deny if it's a service dog, I thought. But
yeah, and that's different than an ESA dog.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. But again, people abuse that too.
Maybe you can. People might be curious how you got in the situation that you're in right now, or what changed in your life where housing became difficult.
I've always worked and had a job. I had psoriasis in my legs, and they were always swelling up to where it got to the point to where I couldn't even hardly walk, and I'd use a walker just to get to and from the bathroom. And then it's just in and out of the hospitals on a constant basis. So I couldn't work. I can't hold down a job if I can't do, construction is what I do, remodel homes. And I just can't do it with my legs all swollen where I can't walk. So that's how I ended up where I'm at. And then I got on SSI, but you don't get much on SSI.
Right.
I mean, you're on a fixed income and the rent's so high anymore that people out there just can't survive.
Mm-hmm.
They really can't. And I got a job that this program helped me out with. And if you're on SSI, you have to let them know that you're working and they take half of your money.
Mm.
If you don't pay it, you have to pay that back. So I'm paying that back now. So they're taking $100 more out of my check. And by doing so, now I only get $870 and my rent is $840.
And are you getting?
And my phone bill is $35, and I have to have a phone for doctor's appointments, to make appointments, and everything else. I have to have a phone. And I had an Obama phone, but it got broke, and I can't get another one now. So it's been a struggle.
What's something you would like to tell people that make assumptions about homeless people with pets that maybe is incorrect?
don't judge people. You don't know that person. You haven't walked in their shoes. You don't know the reason why they're homeless or anything about them. Whether they take care of their dogs or don't take care of their dogs. There are people out there that abuse the system, but there are a lot of people out there that need the help and want the help. And those are the only ones you can help. If they don't want it, then you can't help them.
Mm-hmm. From your experience, what percent do you think want the help, and what percent are just taking advantage of the system?
I don't know those percentages myself personally. But I would hope everybody would want help.
Right.
They can't do it for themselves. Do it for your dog.
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself in a better position to where they're not suffering. Why should they suffer? They rely on you to take care of them. It's up to you. So do what you have to do to take care of your animals. Get whatever programs you have to go through to get on your feet and do it.
And we just recently helped, and Hearts Alive Village assisted with
Raider surgery.
Raider. Yeah, he had a giant tumor hanging down that got infected, and it was really bad. And they were able, thankfully, and thank you to Christy at Hearts Alive Village. It was actually the dog that was supposed to get fixed. The lady refused to call us back. That we were able to get Raider into that slot and get him, fixed up because it was really bad.
Yeah, I took him right down there and got that done.
Yeah.
The second I could.
So, and there are, thankfully there are programs.
There are out there.
But you do have to advocate for your pets, and you have to ask, and,
And if you do get on your feet, maybe donate some money to these programs that did help you.
Yeah.
Is
Excuse me.
there, is there, if people would like to help you out, is there a way they could do that through Gina, or a way to contact you?
Yes, through Gina, or I can leave a number or whatever. I stay in Arizona Charlie's RV Park in space 7311. I can always use help, maybe even transportation to get to and from my chemo appointments. That I'm really struggling with right now, and a lot of doctor's appointments.
Right.
It's been hard.
You were telling me about your chemo, the first full chemo.
It was so strong I couldn't talk.
Yeah.
For like 4 hours. And then I have to take this bag home for 2 days more of that chemo. So, and sit in a chair for 5.5 hours. And it's just sucks the life right out of you. It really does. It's hard.
And this could literally happen to anybody.
Cancer
I think people need to be aware. Your situation could happen to anybody.
I was lucky I caught it when I did, because I was having a hard time going to the bathroom. And now the way the system works with when you get sick, you have to get referrals to see this doctor and whatnot. And what my problem was is they couldn't do a colonoscopy because I couldn't hold down the fluids that they wanted me to hold down to where I can clean myself out. Because obviously there was blockage there.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was trying to pass a Volkswagen Bug. It was very painful. And finally, I just told them, look, I can't hold it down, but you got to go in and find out what's going on. And so they did, and found that there's a tumor right there. And
that's what was blocking.
That's what's blocking. So at that time, they set me up with a surgeon who had to put a colostomy on because I couldn't go to the bathroom anymore. And if I wouldn't have had that done, I wouldn't be here now.
Well, we appreciate you coming in and sharing your story and enlightening everybody about what people's situations are like.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to help Ron, please get in touch with Gina, or you know where to find him down at Arizona Charlie's. Anything else either one of you want to add?
No, I have some food that I'll help, but they love wet food as a treat to go with their dry food. So if
They don't want to eat it if there ain't
if anyone
something
wants
in
to
it.
donate some,
Well, you should have
It's
told
something.
me.
Ron's dogs are very
Oh.
well fed. I can tell. He does feed them before
yeah.
himself.
Yeah, even if somebody wants to come help walk them.
Mhm.
Aw.
I'm having
yeah.
a hard time, handling these two big animals here, but
Mhm.
it's just...
Oh, that's right. Weren't they dragging you in the wheelchair down the?
They're a handful, but they're
the
they're
sweetest-
such
they're-
amazing
Yeah,
dogs.
they are.
I just love these two guys here.
Yeah,
I
so-
can bring them around any other dogs, and they don't attack them.
No, and isn't there a little kitten? And then there's
I
that
haven't-
tiny little dog you guys have, and
Yeah.
another little dog.
They came
That-
in after Buddy and Raider, and Buddy and Raider just accepted them and love them just like they're brothers. They're
Yeah.
like a happy family.
They're just gentle giants, and I wish
They
people
are.
would
It's how
stop
you
judging.
it's how you raise your dogs.
Yes,
It really is, and they just need love, just like people do.
yeah,
But they seem very happy. I can tell you that.
yeah. If anyone wants to, make a donation for Ron, they can, do it through my organization and just in the notes put Ron or Raider and Buddy, and I'll make sure you get that. But I hope that you're able to get even some help through the American Cancer Society or whatever it comes down literally to, there's the bus pass and it's literally like $3 per way, right? Or
Yeah,
$6 a day
yeah.
or something.
Right.
And even that, like, it's just
That's a lot when you only
But-
have $30
exactly.
left over.
But it all adds up for the month. And you're still trying to work on getting that wave, but everything takes time. Everything's a process. Trying to get-
and I got denied an electric wheelchair. So it's like, even if somebody wants to help with an electric scooter or something that I can use to get to and from would be a big help. And any way to get to and from these appointments would be a lot of help.
Or help advocate for you to get one through your doctor or through the insurance,
Yes,
because
something.
there's a lot of people that know the ins and outs of,
Or if you
the
got some
insurance.
property for me to put my fifth wheel on and I can pay less rent, then I can maybe
Yeah.
That would be
afford to
great.
do more for myself and Buddy and Raider.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming in, and everybody,
Okay.
thanks for listening to Paw and Order Las Vegas. We will catch you next time.